Hello, and welcome to the Kingston Grammar School podcast. With the school motto of work well and be happy ever present in all aspects of the curriculum and co-curriculum, Kingston Grammar School is one of the most successful co-educational schools in the UK. I'm your host, Shannon Delwish, and regardless of how you came to find us, I hope you learn a bit about Kingston Grammar School while you're here, and I know that as one of our listeners, you will quickly start to feel more a part of the inclusive KGS community. We're happy to have you. In this 4-part series, we feature current KGS athletes as well as former KGS students who continue to excel in their sport at a very high level. This week, I caught up with Millie Giglio, who left KGS in 2019 and is currently a second-year civil engineering student at the University of Birmingham. Millie currently represents England and GB at an under-21 level and is part of the GB Elite Development Hockey Program. Hi there, Millie. Thanks for joining us. I know you have your hands full with exams at the moment.
That's okay.
I'm looking forward to speaking with you about your time at KGS and about your hockey career in particular. Let's just start out with the co-educational aspect of KGS.
Boys and girls were treated equally. It never even crossed my mind that there would be segregation or that I wouldn't be able to participate in something because I was a girl.
Yeah, as it should be. And what about your experience playing hockey?
Because hockey is already a very equal sport in terms of men and women, I feel like that very much translated into the school.
Right.
Like we were very much on par with the boys. We often trained at similar times. We'd go watch their games. They'd come and watch our games. We were all really good friends with them. I'd say like a lot of my best friends were in the boys team.
Can you recall what drew you to KGS?
Well, it was a number of factors.
Of course.
In terms of location, it was really good. And then just its reputation was super positive. As soon as I started looking into it, everyone I met that went there had said really positive things about it in terms of the culture. Not just, it is a very academic school as well, but more so the culture and the environment that they talked about. That was also like a big, big tick. Especially coming as a new person, I didn't want to go somewhere where I felt like there were a lot of cliques or it wasn't particularly inviting, that sort of thing.
Right. I can see how that might not be appealing.
My experience at KGS was really, really positive. I made loads of really good friends really quickly. I was lucky that everyone there welcomed me immediately. Our classes were so small, the numbers, that I got to know people in those lessons very quickly as well. So yeah, I think just like the whole environment was very easy to slip into.
And was it quite an inspirational environment? Were you encouraged to succeed as a student as well as an athlete?
They definitely wanted us to do well in all aspects. But in terms of the support that you received from teachers and from friends and everything, it made it manageable, if that makes sense. Like I think the pressure was there, but it's always going to be there. I don't think you can get rid of it. If you want to have, dual career in sport and academics, you're going to have to learn how to cope with high pressure situations and working under a time limit and stuff. But I think the nice thing about Kingston is that they were just supportive about it.
And what about life after KGS? Are you still in touch with your friends from school?
So many of my friends at uni here I went to school with. And even when I visit other universities, there's always someone that I knew at school that will come and say hi and say, how are you? That sort of culture really extends outside of the school career.
And so when you were at Kingston, you played for the under-18s, didn't you?
I played for the under-18 England side and the under-21 England side, but less so because that was during my A-level year. So I kind of prioritised studies a little bit more that year. And then since then, I've played in the EDP. And the EDP stands for Elite Development Program. So it's sort of like the feeder group to the senior squad. And yeah, so the EDP is Great Britain as well. So that includes Welsh and Scottish players as well. And up until very recently, I was eligible to play for the under-21s as well. So I participated in those tournaments. I recently went to a World Cup for the under-21 England side. And since then, I'm just working on trying to break into the senior squad.
Wow, what a career already. I can see you as being quite a role model to younger athletes.
I didn't think I was a role model until really recently. I had someone at my club. So my local club is Richmond Hockey Club, and that's where I still coach. And that's where I started a lot of my hockey. This little boy asked me to sign his stick, and I was really taken aback by it. I didn't realise that young kids were engaged in what I was doing. I think maybe since the World Cup was televised and a lot of my interviews went on Twitter, I think the media presence was there for the first time, and I think that definitely let them have a little bit of an idea of what was going on. And since then, people have asked me to coach at clubs and stuff. So yeah, I guess now I would say I'm more of a role model, but I don't really think of myself as one.
Yeah, I can see that might take some getting used to. And because you remain an active student athlete now, do you have any advice for those who are juggling school and co-curricular activities?
In terms of managing academics and other things, I think it's important to recognize that you'll have to prioritize things at different times. So like I said, during my A-level year, I still trained because exercise is so important for brain stimulation and, taking that break from your studies. But I took a step back because my priority was my exams at that point. In my first year of university, so, 4 months later, I could prioritize my sport because my first year was just a little bit more relaxed and I really wanted to get into it because obviously it was a new environment with uni and stuff. So yeah, I think just acknowledge that there will be periods where you'll have to prioritize different things, and that's okay. You don't need to do everything 100% of the time because it's exhausting and you'll probably burn out if you try and do that.
So true. I think we could all stand to follow that advice on occasion. And what can parents do to support their children through a sporting career?
I think the best kind of supportive parent is the one that accepts their child for who they are in the sport, whether that means, they're exceptionally good, and if they're destined to be in the Olympics, then with a lot of hard work they will be, and if they might just really enjoy playing it, and that's fine. I think it's important to recognise that. And in terms of support, I think going to watch games is always great. And for those parents who don't know the sport particularly well, maybe learning a little bit about the rules and the tactics. And I always really enjoyed when I went to play when I was younger and I would be in the car with my mum on the way back. My favourite part was to debrief the game and chat about what went well. And it was nice that we could bond over that subject.
Right. Lovely memories. Would you have any words for female athletes specifically?
For female athletes, particularly at school, I think there's sometimes a period where the tendency is to come away from sport, maybe because socially it's, not cool, or, your friends aren't doing it, so you don't really want to do it. I remember there was a point where I just didn't really want to go to training on a Friday night. I would rather go out with my friends. But I think just stick with it, because if you really like it, you should continue doing it. And it's so good for your health, mental health, physical health, even though through those periods where you think, oh, I don't really want to do it, maybe stick around, because I think it's probably worth it.
How important is the hard work?
Oh, so important. I think it's the number one reason that you will get to where you want to get. Being talented and naturally gifted is great because, people recognize it and you get praise for it. But ultimately, hard work is what's going to get you results. And discipline as well, doing things when you don't want to do them or you don't feel like it, but you should. That sort of a mentality will definitely get you far.
So you don't go into every single training session with guns blazing yourself?
If anyone thinks that I wake up every morning with 100% motivation to train and get my work done, then they are mistaken.
Well said. Millie, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me in the midst of all of your juggling. It's been a pleasure, and just wishing you lots of luck to go along with all of your hard work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kingston Grammar School podcast. Join us next week when we featured Zach Wallace for our final episode in the Sport at KGS series. Zach is a professional hockey player for the England and Great Britain men's team and plays his club hockey in Holland for the Dutch club HGC. Most recently, Zach represented Team GB in the Tokyo Olympic Games in 2021. We would like to hear from you. Get in touch to tell us what you're enjoying about the podcast and join other listeners in suggesting topics which you'd like to learn more about. You can email us at podcast@kgs.org.uk. And there are endless platforms on which you can access this podcast: Spotify, Apple, Acast, Amazon, SoundCloud, or YouTube for starters. So please recommend this podcast to friends and family, as it is so easily accessible to any and everyone. And remind them it's free. Oh, and follow, download, or subscribe to the series, and do take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It takes but a moment, and it makes a huge difference to us because it makes us more visible for those who are searching for us. Special thanks to our guest in this episode, Millie Giglio. Thank you also to Allison Williams, Director of Marketing and Admissions at Kingston Grammar School. This has been an Applied Reality production, produced by Shannon Vandermark, sound designed by Alex Marcoux, with additional design, mixing, and editing by George Powell.